Hi, this is Neil's on Dynasty. Please like, share, and subscribe. Be kind, helpful, and grateful. Buy some crystal, buy some silver, some platinum, and some crystallized osmium. Don't listen to me. Everything we say is to be taken as bully crappy. All right, now we got that out of the way. Got the shared screen thing going. This is what people have been waiting for, supposedly. They've been waiting and trying to throw people in jail over. Now they're starting to get released, and no one seems to be happy. So, oh well with that, I guess. Here it is.
This has released hundreds of thousands of files related to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. James Matthews has the latest.
300,000 pages of documents released as a partial publication, remember. This morning, the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, he said that short of full publication of many hundred thousands of documents, they would be released in batches. Several hundred thousand today, he said, and several hundred thousand over the course of the next couple of weeks. So I'll be looking up and down at my phone as I myself, in common with our team here in Washington, sift through the records. They are searchable, and that means, of course, that the key names can be put in to a search engine, and details of them, their association to Jeffrey Epstein and their involvement in Epstein investigations will be discoverable, presumably. No search results so far for Trump or Mandelson. Lord Mandelson, these are the first two names that we have put in. Clearly, Donald Trump, he had an association, a close friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. Best friends, they were termed in the by people in their orbit. Best friends until they fell out in the early noughties. They fell out over a property deal, you'll remember, and also fell out because Donald Trump was upset that Jeffrey Epstein was luring female staff members away from his Mar-a-Lago club in Florida and using them for his own purposes. Those purposes, of course, being the sex trafficking of minors. Epstein, the late Jeffrey Epstein, who died in jail, remember, was a convicted pedophile. So we're in this situation where the documents have dropped, or 300,000 of them. What you're looking at right now, these are photographs that came out yesterday. They were released by Democrat members of the House Oversight Committee. That's the DOJ website. That is where people have descended. I can tell you in their numbers. There's quite the queue to get into that website. I'm just looking through some of the early details that we are able to lift from the content, Matt. 254 masseuses were part of an Epstein masseuse list. All of their names have been redacted. There are flight logs in these files released today. Also, a contact book. That's some of the content of these files.
James Matthews with the latest on the release of the Epstein files, which are not all going to come out today, despite that act of Congress.
All right, anyhow, as Deja Vu said, she researched files. There's a lot of redacted stuff in there. And that's all good because we, the people, don't need to see that right now because there's still litigation going on about this. And actually, until all the litigation's over with, none of it should really be turned out. But because of the act of Congress, literally, they've been forced to turn it over. So they've got to redact the names due to ongoing litigation and possible litigation of the release of names. So the fact that they're redacted means that law enforcement and the legal systems know who these people are, and they're actually probably going after them. I've heard of a couple things coming down the pipeline that we will see. And that's, you'll see, Deja Vu, you'll see coming down the road in the next couple of months, a lot of indictments being put out to people that should be indicted coming down the road. But that's the first part of it. Get that out. Make sure people see, what's going on there. Now let's go to something else. Well, I'm sure you guys still want to talk about this. So let's see here. Oh, here's a good one. This is a little short. Yeah, I do too. Victims' names, and that's they definitely have to be redacted, because they're the innocent ones, and we can't be like throwing their names out and then their neighbors all of a sudden. I mean, the embarrassment factor. There's lots of just, but now they're also probably redacting more than the victims. They're redacting other names too, but that's because of our justice system and ongoing litigation and or investigations. So the fact that there's names redacted, yes, the victims' names are redacted, but the degenerates' names are also redacted, which means there's ongoing litigation and or ongoing investigations on those redacted degenerates, as Deja Vu called them. And we'll never be satisfied, but the fact is they're being released as much as legally possible without getting someone off on a prosecution because of a release of their name, and they can get like a mistrial. They got to watch out for that. Well, if they release those names, Deja Vu, the problem with that is legally those people now cannot get a fair trial, and it has to be a mistrial, and they can never be convicted for that offense. That's unfortunate, but it's also the law. And that's another reason why I'm happy that the names, all of them, are redacted, because that means there is ongoing litigation and investigations going on to the degenerates, and they will be brought to justice. Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what it is. And this next one I have to show you here is for Andy Schekman. Apparently he doesn't know about South Africa. He still thinks it's got a good GDP. So let's see how good their GDP is. This is a daily wrap-up crew. 279,000 subscribers. Give him a like. This is the, put this out here. This is the little short that I'm getting it from. I don't want to get a strike, so I'm trying to do all the disclaimers possible. Demographics, South Africa, 51 million. Listen to what he says.
Black people. 2.8 million white people arrived and built that country to the standard of a European country. Then the people started bickering. They said apartheid was the reason the black man was poor in South Africa. So the majority, 51 million black people, were waiting on 2.8. If blacks believe that they can build South Africa, Mandela wouldn't waste his time in prison and all these things. He would have simply said, you know what, let's have a BSA, Black South Africa Republic. Let them cut off white South Africa and let's compete. No, they wasted their time asking the whites, just allow me to come to your beach, to your clinic, to your schools. Then 2 years ago, the white man said, just wait and see. We are warning them that managing a country is not something anybody you can just do. 32 years ago, they gave the country back to the blacks. I was there in 2022 to speak. They are now having load shed. Electricity can't stay on. Water is not flowing. Roads are cracked. Airport is breaking down. The Durban train station is finished when they gave it to blacks.
Wow. Yeah, well, indeed, he's just a salesman. He doesn't know. And again, it's been happening for 32 years. I've been keeping a close eye on it for about the past 15 years. That's how I know that their GDP is falling. And I did several videos on it. And that's also the time period I was doing videos on the Sahel nations, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, and West Africa, because they're going to be the big GDP leaders after this economic shakeup that the whole world's going through. Because South Africa's falling apart because they don't know how to run a country. But anyhow, that's neither here nor there. It's their country to do whatever they want with. Let's get another video here. Let's see what we got to go with. Oh, I don't know if you guys recall me talking about cannabis being rescheduled from a class 1 to a class 3, opening up the medical marijuana and market and industry. But that's what this is about. It's finally happened. I knew it was going to happen. I just didn't know exactly when, but it has happened now. So let's see. This is the New York Post. It's a public news station, so I don't think I have to put their website up. It is the New York Post. Make sure you get that. It's New York Post. Trump signs common sense order changing marijuana's legal status. Just like I said, from a class 1 to a class 3. Let's see what he has to say.
Executive order to reschedule marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 controlled substance with legitimate medical uses. We have people begging for me to do this, people that are in great pain. For decades, this action has been requested by American patients suffering from extreme pain, incurable diseases, aggressive cancers, seizure disorders, neurological problems, and more, including numerous veterans with service-related injuries and older Americans who live with chronic medical problems that severely degrade their quality of life. And it's so really, I mean, just, I can't tell you, I think I probably have received more phone calls on this, on doing what we're doing. I don't think I received any calls on the other side of it, but hopefully this reclassification, which by the way polls at 82%, will help many of those patients live a far better life. We're joined today by Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's doing a fantastic job, Administrator of Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, Dr. Mehmet Oz, the FDA Commissioner, Dr. Marty Makary, Director of the National Institutes of Health, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, and the Director of the National Institute on Drug Abuse, Dr. Nora Valkow, as well as Dr. Ilana Braun from the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, Duke University's Dr. David Casaret, the National Commander of the American Legion, Dan Wiley, and my friend Howard Kessler. Howard, how are you feeling? I'm telling you, he looks better than he did 20 years ago. But I don't want to go through what you went through to get there. Right? But it looks like you're doing great. I'm proud of you. I want to emphasize that the order I am about to sign is not the legalization, or it doesn't legalize marijuana in any way, shape, or form, and in no way sanctions its use as a recreational drug. It has nothing to do with it. Just as the prescription painkillers may have legitimate uses, but can also do irreversible damage and never, if you look at some of the damage that can be caused, wreck lives, and if it's abused, it's never safe to use powerful controlled substances in recreational manners. And especially in this case, if you take a look, illegal and unregulated drugs, very, very bad thing. So I've always told my children, don't take drugs, no drinking, no smoking, and just stay away from drugs. I have been, they would look at me and they said, Dad, would you stop saying that? I would say it every time I looked at it practically. Young Americans are especially at risk. So unless a drug is recommended by a doctor for medical reasons, just don't do it. At the same time, the facts compel the federal government to recognize that marijuana can be legitimate in terms of medical applications when carefully administered. In some cases, this may include the use as a substitute for addictive and potentially lethal opioid painkillers. They cause tremendous problems. This can do it in a much lesser way, can make people feel much better that are living through tremendous pain and problems. 40 states and multiple U.S. territories have already recognized the use of medical marijuana. This reclassification order will make it far easier to conduct marijuana-related medical research, allowing us to study benefits, potential dangers, and future treatments. It's going to have a tremendously...
That is a very tremendously positive outlook, actually. all the research and development and the billions of dollars that are going to flow into the marijuana industry. Because the reason why we haven't had hemp lumber or any hemp related products is because it's associated with a class 1 felony, marijuana. Now it's a class 3 misdemeanor as far as the feds are concerned. That means state law supersedes the federal law because it's no longer a felony. So all the states that have already passed rules and regulations for all kinds of stuff to be done, research, development, industry build up, is going to kick in because the money's been waiting. It's like a horse race, and the horses are just biting at the bit to be lit free when they say go. That just happened. As far as, are you talking about South Africa? Absolutely hell no. It's gone down. They are the murder capital of the world. The largest industry South Africa has is private security or private for police force for the few people who can afford it. There's 2.5 million employed in the private industry of security in South Africa. They have They have power 50% of the time because their power infrastructure is falling apart. As you heard that gentleman say, lots of things are falling apart. Their roads are falling apart. Their electrical grid's falling apart. I did a video about a year ago. There was a gang in Johannesburg, the capital, that took over one of the high rises. Their high rises are about 15 stories. This gang took over the high rise, and the cops couldn't do anything with it. So they turned the water off to the building, and the gang is still there. Does that sound like it's better than it was 32 years ago when actually tourists were in that building spending money and buying stuff and keeping it prosperous? Because I guarantee you that gang that's now controlling that 15-story building ain't doing nothing to help South Africa. So no, their standard of living has gone to hell. But anyhow, let's get on to another story here. Share screen. Oh, here we go. Here's some interesting news. This is a ripple effect from Argentina's electing that guy they elected, Milei. This is Sky News Australia. Celebration erupts across Chile as a conservative pro-Trump candidate wins election. And basically it's an election. They beat the Communist Party member. So here's a little celebration they're having about kicking the Communist Party. I'm not going to This happened about 5 days ago. So Chile is now following. Here we go. Chile's next president followed landslide victory. The 59-year-old defeated the Communist Party politician and former Labor minister, with nearly 58% of the vote. So they're kicking out the Communist Party conservative again, Western Hemisphere is changing back to Western governments. I 100% agree with that. And it does. It's just now it's in Wall Street. Wall Street has all the cash value of marijuana. And let me see here. Here's something that's kind of cool about Zimbabwe and what they're doing as it relates to, let me see if I can't find it. Yeah, here it is. What it relates to what's going to happen here in this country with getting Chinese out of our industry and out of our businesses. Zimbabwe is doing that. This is the New African Channel. It's about an 8-minute video. Zimbabwe drops shocking rule: foreign businesses must sell or leave. And it's not total sale. You guys, I'll let the report say it all. I don't totally agree with their perspective, but they've got a lot of information. The New Africa Channel has a lot of information. Obviously, they're in Africa, but they, in my opinion, have a skewed perspective. But they bring the information. It's just their perspective, in my opinion, is a little skewed, as it should be, to their vision and their perspective. So let's go with this one.
And shockwaves across boardrooms, marketplaces, and policy circles across Africa. Zimbabwe has dropped a policy bombshell that few saw coming with this level of boldness. The Zimbabwean government has announced new rules that force foreign-owned businesses operating in certain sectors of the economy to give up at least 75% of their companies to Zimbabweans within 3 years, or risk being shut down or pushed out of the country altogether. It is the kind of announcement that instantly raises eyebrows and provokes a bigger question. Is this economic justice finally being enforced, or is Zimbabwe gambling with investor confidence yet again? The new rules officially kicked in on December 12, 2025, under Statutory Instrument 215 of 2025, formerly known as the Indigenization and Economic Empowerment Foreign Participation in Reserved Sectors Regulations 2025. From that date, the clock started ticking. Foreign business owners affected by the regulations have until December 2020 by selling a controlling 75% stake of their enterprises to Zimbabwean citizens. Fail to do so, the consequences are blunt: closure, license cancellation, or an exit from the market. For many small and medium foreign operators, this is not a gentle nudge, but a hard ultimatum. Find local partners fast or pack up. What makes this policy particularly explosive is how close to everyday life it cuts. This is not about obscure industries hidden from public view. The sectors now reserved for Zimbabweans read like the heartbeat of ordinary urban and township economies. Barbershops, hair salons, bakeries, small grain milling businesses, employment agencies, estate agencies, and advertising firms are all affected. So too are passenger transport services, car hire companies, valet services, borehole drilling businesses, pharmaceutical retail outlets, artisanal mining operations, and even marketing and distribution of local arts and crafts. Now, these are the businesses people see on their streets every day. And in many cases, once locals have long complained, are dominated by non-citizens. Was this policy simply inevitable? The government has been keen to stress that, look, this is not an all-out shutdown of foreign participation. There are carefully carved out exemptions, but they come with heavy price tags. In retail and wholesale trade, foreign investors can only stay if they inject a minimum of $20 million into the operations and employ at least 200 Zimbabweans. In haulage and logistics, the bar is slightly lower, but still steep, requiring at least $10 million in capital investment and no fewer than 100 local employees. In other words, small-scale foreign traders are effectively being pushed out, while big money is still welcome. Is this Zimbabwe drawing a clear line between survival-level hustling and serious capital investment? Crucial, major sectors such as banking and large-scale mining remain open to foreign ownership under the broader Indigenization Act. Officials have framed the new rules as a deliberate effort to ring-fence the ground roots economy for citizens, arguing that ordinary Zimbabweans have been crowded out of spaces that should naturally belong to them. This framing taps into a wider Pan-African frustration.
Now, see, I don't know if you guys know this, but the same thing's happening here in America. We're actually not pushing out all foreign investment, but specifically Chinese investors in our industries and businesses. For example, and you can Google this, TikTok, Chinese-controlled TikTok, their American division is being forced to be sold to an American company, or TikTok gets shut down here in America, as an example. But that's exactly what Zimbabwe is doing here. I find it funny.
Why should locals struggle to own saloons, taxis, and corner shops in their own countries, while outsiders dominate the basics? Supporters of the policy point out something often left unsaid in African policy debates: that in many countries around the world, small everyday businesses are strictly reserved for citizens. From Asia to Europe and the Middle East, foreigners are often barred from running informal retail, transport, and personal services. Yet, in many African states, lax enforcement and weak regulation have allowed non-citizens to flood into precisely these spaces. Over time, this has bred resentment, unemployment, and the feeling that independence never quite translated into economic control. Seen through this lens, Zimbabwe's move is less radical than it first appears. Is Harare simply doing what others have long done quietly? This is also not Zimbabwe's first attempt at rewriting ownership patterns. In the indigenization law of 2007 required foreign businesses to cede a controlling 51% stake to Black Zimbabweans. In 2016, the government warned that it would cancel the licenses of foreign firms that failed to comply with indigenization requirements. Those efforts were unevenly enforced and often criticized as chaotic, but they reveal a consistent thread. Zimbabwe has never abandoned the idea of economic sovereignty. The 2025 regulations appear to be the most direct and forceful attempt yet to make that vision real. Is this finally the moment when enforcement matches rhetoric? Still, the backlash has been loud and immediate. Critics argue that forcing foreign businesses to divest will scare away badly needed investment at a time when Zimbabwe is desperate for capital, jobs, and growth. Some have also raised uncomfortable Pan-African questions, noting that many of the foreigners running saloons, transport services, and retail shops in Zimbabwe are not Europeans or Asians, but fellow Africans from neighboring countries. Does empowering Zimbabweans at home risk undermining the spirit of African integration and free movement?
I think what it does is it brings national pride back to Zimbabwe, where their people want to be productive and want to show that their country has something to offer. And they, so there's that outlook, and I believe that's what they're going for. It's all about greed, deplorable. It's just greedy people asking high prices. And if foreign countries or individuals or entities want to buy our land for other than regular business purposes, they will buy it way overvalued. And that's how you can that's how our security and intelligence services discovers who's buying land. Because if someone comes into an area, or a country or a business comes into an area and starts buying land at 2 to 3 times the value, that's reported. Now, if you have an administration that likes seeing property values go up, they encourage such things. But now if you look back to the 80s, Japan was buying up. They owned like 90% of the real estate in Hawaii. They owned Pioneer. They owned all these other companies in America that were really making money. And everyone was saying, my God, Japan's going to take us over after we beat them in World War II. They're going to destroy us economically now. Then all of a sudden they had an economic hiccup and they had to sell everything back to us at pennies on the dollar, and our economy boomed. So there are also longer term economic plays going on, while each and every individual country has their economic plays going on. Those economic plays get affected by a wider economic play that'll screw up smaller countries' economics and increase bigger countries' economics. It's like what's his name? Sun Tzu's Art of War for Economics. There's actually a book similar to that out there. Yeah, it's in company names, and you were 100% correct. They're using like LLCs out here at Travis Air Force Base. It was a front company run by an American, but it was owned by a CCP, and they've already researched it because they were buying land all around Travis Air Force Base, and that has been stopped. That's one thing they don't tell you about California. We already stopped that through legislation, I believe. Oh yeah, that's another video I'd like to bring y'all. This is a real cool one. It shows how, or it tells how government growth has been growing our economy. Where is it? Excuse me, I just took a hit. This is again Sky News Australia. Listen to this.
I would have said it the other night, but I was not allotted too much time, actually. You had a couple of brand new shows opening, and I understand that. But I do want to say, and some people say, oh, you shouldn't say it. It sounds negative. To me, I think it sounds positive. The only reason our unemployment tucked up and went up to 4.5%, which it went up to 4.5%, which is quite a low number, but still, is because we are reducing the government workforce by numbers that have never been seen before. In other words,
we are reducing the government employees by numbers that have never been seen before. If you want to get your deficit under control, you cut spending. First thing you do, as you can see by Argentina and the economic effects that they've had, they cut 5% of the government workforce, and you see the economic gains they're experiencing now. So that is one way. Another way is to get a lot of money for new industry to flow into your country. So that's why I want to show this.
Government jobs are way down. And as you know, we don't need 10 people to fill one job, which is what we had in government in many cases. So,
and that's where I've said for a long time, since we started off with about around 50 three-letter agencies. Now we have 450 three-letter agency. That was all due to a government controlled economy through government growth. We gained about 400 agencies in the past 50 years with subsequent employees, which means all the unemployment numbers were not run off of private business, but government controlled. So we haven't had a real economy since 1971. It's all been government controlled. And that's exactly what he's saying, if you understand how this stuff works.
The government workforce, by numbers that have never been seen before, has been reduced very substantially, and it will continue to be reduced. 100% of our new jobs are in the private sector. So this is for the last number of months. Think of that, 100%. Are you shocked to hear that? That's the way to make America great again, what do you think, right? It's the only way. 100% of new jobs are in the private sector.
No government employees hired. All the employees that have been hired past month or two have been private industry. That right there is how you grow the economy, through real numbers, less manipulation. If the government's in control of the economy, where do you think the manipulation's coming from? Look at Nancy Pelosi. Gives you a hint, huh?
And I could reduce unemployment to 2%, 1%, or practically zero by just hiring people into the federal government, even though those jobs are not necessary, which is what we had before. We had millions and millions of people having jobs that they never even showed up. So I wish that the media would report that the 4.5% is an amazing number. And again, if they don't report it, I guess maybe I'll just let some people go into the federal workforce. It'll look really wonderful. And what we're doing is the only way you can do it to make a country great. You can't have the government jobs. You have to have the private sector jobs. And these are among the biggest hires of private sector. So we have reduced the federal workforce by tremendous hundreds of thousands of people. And that reflects in unemployment, but that will be used up very quickly. And we've 100% of the new jobs, which, by the way, it's a record-setting number of jobs.
So we'll come back to US President Donald Trump.
Anyhow, there you go. A record-setting number of new jobs, all private industry, not government-manipulated numbers. Now we're going to start seeing what kind of actual economy we have. Because in the past 50-some years, it's been controlled by the government. Oh, we need better employment numbers, hire more people, start a new agency, raise taxes to pay for them all. That's what most of us were born into that way of thinking, because that's the way our government's operated our entire adult lifetimes. It's hard to step out of that and see what's coming. But I see it. That's why I bring these videos to you. That is as of right now, and that is changing, because if you're a consumer-based nation, that's what the government has to do if you're a consumer-based nation. But before that, we were a production nation, and those numbers were not needed by the government because everything was private industry, and we were doing awesome. That's coming back. That's why we've got, and I've done a couple of videos on it, why there's $22 trillion of money flowing into America. 8.8 trillion of it flowed into America this year, which means next year the job numbers in private industry should be skyrocketing. That's changing. Again, going from a consumer nation to a production nation. If you're a production nation, private industry is running things. If you're a consumer nation, you got government running things, because they get the paycheck and higher taxes. Because they're growing the government, they need the money to pay the more people. You need to move to Florida for that, brah. And actually, I do have a couple of videos. I probably aren't going to do them today, but I got like 2 or 3 videos here recently. Dude, shipbuilding is going to blow you away over the next in 2026. There's going to be so many jobs created in the shipbuilding industry, whether it's remodeling ports, building new ports, or building ships, big ones. It's going to happen. Well, because the way the government works is they run by quarters, and the numbers are fudged. So to get actual numbers, you got to run through 1 or 2 quarters, which is like, 3 to 6 months. So if this quarter of the last quarter this year comes in that good, and well, also you have to have a press that wants to get that information out and not suppress it from us and put out the exact opposite, making us think it's not true. So you got that working against you. We're trying to crush it too. But yeah, you'll see the numbers by April, the beginning of the second quarter of next year. It'll be rocking numbers, because they're going to start coming in. It takes a while. Big wheels keep on turning, but the bigger the wheel, the longer it takes to turn. Smaller wheels can turn. The government is not cryptocurrency. It's not going to go up 500,000x in 2 seconds. It's never worked that way for anyone who thinks it has. It never has. I think we can reindustrialize typos, Zardos. Yes, you're 100% correct. Why would they want to reduce a budget if it's government growth? They want to increase the budget. You're 100% correct. I don't know why you want to say that I disagree with that. You're just not listening to what I'm saying. Since 1971, we've had nothing but government growth. We've not had a reduced budget. Why? Because the government's been growing. If the government's growing, they're employing people. Hold on. Like I said earlier, in 1971, we had 53 letter agencies. We now have 453 letter agencies. That means there's 400 agencies that got money to put people to work, which means we can't decrease the budget because the government is increasing the budget. So yeah, we can't reduce it when the government's increasing it. You're 100% correct. I don't know why you think that I said otherwise. Or maybe you just misunderstood what I said. Yes. No, that's changing now, though. But no, for our whole lifetimes up until now, yes, it's 100% correct. Bigger budgets because of government-controlled economic growth. Just like what Trump said. I showed you that video of Trump talking about it. He even said it. Ah, now you're talking, and that's why I've said this, and it's on my videos. 0% inflation for 2026, and quite possibly a balanced budget by the end of 2026. And I've said that on a couple of my videos, and it'll probably come true. Yeah, you hear those cats in the background, Mike? Yes, and actually it'll be better than that because no one's reporting on the tariffs. They're all reporting on where the tariff money's going. When the government was shut down, he funded this with tariffs. He funded that with tariffs. That was billions and billions and billions of dollars. That's monthly, 200 billion monthly coming in. So that's what, 1.4 trillion a year. If we reduce spending and all this other good shit, we can get our government spending down to about 1.2 trillion. We can eliminate income tax, get rid of the Federal Reserve, and run our country off tariffs, as I've said is going to happen. And that's the economic turmoil that we're going through now. That is happening. Trump said he's going to reduce the size of the IRS, and he's going to go from an internal revenue to an external revenue. Because here's something other people also don't talk about. Before we transfer over to a tariff-based system, get rid of the internal revenue service, it's going to convert to an external revenue service, because everyone keeps stating 3/4 of American money is sitting offshore where it can't be taxed. So if we go to an external revenue service, we're going to collect 4 times as much taxes while getting rid of the internal revenue service, which is a small voice for you and me. And we're going to have tariffs coming in. See, now, if you guys had voted for me for president, I could explain all this out, how it will work, and how they've told us they're going to do it. And just because they're not telling us daily, everyone seems to think that it's not happening. And again, that's actually not how it works. You should have voted for me in 2024. You'd have had a friend who was president, and I could have told you exactly what's going to happen. Just like I have been. Medical marijuana is going to be reclassified to class 3. Boom, happened yesterday. I've been saying that since December of last year because I knew it was going to happen. I saw the government make legal maneuvers that it needs to make that happen. I just needed to know when. I don't know when because I'm not the president. If I was the president, I could have told you exactly when I signed that papers. I still knew he was going to sign them over a year ago. 100%. 100%. Because when you're a production nation, you don't need income tax. You want your people to be wealthy. And you get your money from external services. Just like in 1969, 68, 65, 64, all the way up till the 40s. We were getting our money from other people called tariffs. Then we changed over. Well, we had income tax back then too. Actually, 40s is when really income tax really took hold because of the Social Security Administration. And that was politically motivated for geopolitical reasons to get the Democratic Party more votes, have nothing to do with economics. And they knew they were going to steal that money because, as everyone knows, you hand a Democrat $20 for a cause. They stick 15 in their pocket for administrative fees, and $5 goes to the cause. And that's why we need to decrease government, because you give them $100 to a problem, only $25 hits the problem, and you got 3 people got paid. That's called government growth. That's also what's changing. That's what Trump just said. First time ever, no government, actually increase government job loss and increase private sector job growth. Those are two positive things. One's a negative, one's a positive, but together both of them are incredibly positive. But that economic trend won't be seen for about 6 months. Very, very, very easily. If you know anything about life, you can learn about history, and you can find out that in history, up until I don't know, say from 1776 till 1920s. How many years is that? 150 years. We ran a country exactly the way you say. How are we going to? I don't know. We did it for 150 years. We've only run our country off of taxes for less than 100 years. So shit, I don't know. History shows we've done it more than not in reality. But that's just reality, if you know reality. Yes, it is a grand delusion. It's called factual historical truths and grand delusions of facts. And anyone who can't see it that way, I guess you need to check yourself on the liberal meter and start making fun of people again and having fun, my friend. Because I don't have grand delusions. Everything I said, and you can go check my videos, has come through fruition. NNE. Okay, I told you about OKLO before it got to almost $200. No, it was only $20 when I told you about that. NNE, same. Both are way much higher. Clean Air Metals, told you guys about that. It's a good 30% higher, has been for quite some time. And other stock calls I've made. I've told you guys about a lot of things. I told you a year ago that Trump was going to sign an executive order to change marijuana laws, make it a class 3 rather than class 1 felony. Boom, it happened too. I'm pretty sure my track record says calling me an idiot or a fool or not knowing what I'm talking about, you stand about a 3% chance of being right and a 97% chance of being wrong. So don't put your money where your mouth is, because you'll probably be wrong. And that's factual. Again, I got videos you can go check. I'm not talking out my booty hole. And actually, it would help my viewing hours if you went and checked the facts, do a fact check, and give me some viewing hours. I don't think it's going to happen in 2026. It takes a long time for this shit to take effect. You know how much paperwork it takes? Here, I'll give you an example, deplorable. For America to go to a gold standard, a 100% gold standard, it would take no less than 20 years. You're like, bullshit, we can do it tomorrow. No, we can't. No, the fuck we can't. It would take 20 years to get on an actual gold standard. Why? Contracts and the way things are run. All of that has to be changed. It can't be done with a flip of a switch. You have multiple worlds, agencies, galaxies, all have to agree on one thing. And you got to twist arms and do all kinds of shit. And it'll take no less than 20 years to go on a full gold-back standard. So we're never going off full gold-back standard. I guarantee you that. And you know who else agrees with me? Julie Shelton. You need to look up her and start watching her stuff. Things don't work the way you think they do, my friend. It seems like everything don't work the way you think it does. No, well, see, that's the thing. No, state, that's a different thing. See, federal IRS, Internal Revenue Service, is federal, not state. Those are two different entities. You can't say, he said, the IRS was going to go away. Yes, the IRS will go away. State Revenue Service, the SRS, will not go away. You might have to move to get away from that. But if you notice now, a lot of states are getting rid of their individual state property taxes, and Florida and others with income tax. So a lot of states are already set up to go tax-free. Only the red states aren't, thus making a separation of the blue and the red. Thus, Neil saying, once again, the Democratic Party is going to go away like the dodo bird and never come back, and another party's going to replace them, because money and economics is going to change up. And these taxes, like where I'm living in California with an 11% tax, when there's going to be 38 other states out there that have no tax, I'm going to look at my paycheck and go, why the hell am I living here? And there's going to be so many people moving out. These states are going to crash and eventually get taken over. And who's going to take them over? Not the Democrats. So if the Democrats aren't going to take over the states that are successfully run by Republicans, and the Republicans take over the states that aren't being successfully run by the Democrats, where are the Democrats going to rule? Nowhere. Bye-bye Democratic Party. I give it 12 years. That's the future. They've already lost 5 seats in Texas out of Congress. So now they have a 5-seat less in Congress, and the Republicans gained 5 seats. I've said on my videos, the Republicans will gain 30. No, the Democrats will lose 30 Democratic seats in Congress by the 2026 elections, and the Republicans will gain up to as many as 50, thus never guaranteeing, always guaranteeing that the Democratic Party will never be a majority, even if there's a Democratic president. The Congress will be 100% guaranteed, always Republican majority in 2026, just by the way things are going. And yes, I'm saying this on video, so it's recorded. I've said it before. I don't doubt myself. I know what I'm talking about. Oh, of course he's lying. It's not going to, no, it's not going to be the way we perceive it. Because again, we perceive the greedy people who are making money now just to give up. No, here's an example. We think smoking's going away because Philip Morrison went bankrupt after their $1 billion lawsuit that they lost, right? No. You know what happened to all the fucking cigarette companies that went out of business due to the 70s lawsuits for cancer causing and all this other stuff? They bought food companies, brah. They're actually feeding you right now. And the same poisons that they put in the cigarette, they've been putting in the food since they moved over from cigarettes to food. Wow. Yeah, it's amazing if you do your research, find out who's feeding you. Yeah, the same people that fed you cigarettes before it was illegal. All those carcinogens. Yeah, look at your food sources. Look at what Philip Morris owns. Check it out. I'm not lying. You got to know this shit to be able to talk reality. There's more going on than what you think on the surface. They make things look, oh, dude, you don't even want to get me into labeling laws. During COVID, they changed the labeling laws. You can't even trust the labels on the freaking food anymore to be accurate due to government rules and regulations changed under COVID when they couldn't get certain products due to shipping problems. The government changed the labeling laws and allowed companies to put in different products and subsidize if they couldn't get the product they normally got due to shipping issues so they could keep food on the marketplace. They haven't changed those laws, bro. Wow. Imagine what's in your food. You can't even trust the labels anymore. By law, you can't trust them. How fucked up is that? Bet none of y'all knew that happened, huh? Good thing you got freaks like me keeping up with this shit that your government actually does when they showed, say, look over here. Hey, look over here at COVID. We're going to change the labeling laws. Really fucking feed you guys poison. You won't even know about it. Yeah, look over here at COVID. Look over here at COVID. We're changing labeling laws for your food. Don't worry about it. That happened under Biden. That happened under Obama. Obama did crazy shit like that too. So did Clinton. They've been working on this shit my whole fucking lifetime, man. That's why I started voting for myself as president in 2016. I was so sick of it. And in 2028, I'm going to vote for myself again, no matter how good Trump's doing with the nation, how good and rich everyone gets, and blah, 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 blah. It was already foretold. The nation's going to move in the direction the nation's going to go. The leader has absolutely 3% say in the direction of the nation. The other 97% is going to happen. So if you understand that, anyone can be fucking president and tell you what's going to happen. Well, I guess, you got to be of a certain level of competence to be able to understand that, to be able to see that. But yeah, I knew all this shit was going to happen. I have videos where I did a Google search live telling people, oh yeah, November 2024, the Drug Enforcement Agency and Department of Justice started working on decriminalizing the legal language for decriminalizing marijuana. That was like 13 months ago, and I did a video on it about 8 months ago, and then 4 months ago. There's just so few people watch my shows, you guys don't actually find out the truth before it gets here because no one sees my shows. Let's see here. Let's see. I don't know what this one's about, but I got it queued up. This is from Fox. Elon Musk. Wild claims shock the internet. Let's see what he has to say and what I'm going to talk about after he says some crazy shit.
Saving money will not be necessary. with universal high income set to prevail in the future. Musk says this on X. It is certainly a nice gesture of the Dells, but there will be no poverty in the future. And so no need to save money. There will be universal high income. Musk is on record saying artificial intelligence and robotics will eliminate poverty and the need to work, creating a universal level of wealth. Trying to follow this one, Todd. No
Don't
need
have-
to save money. I mean, I don't get this.
I do not know if I have the intellectual capacity to wrap my head around this.
I know.
I'm being honest. Like, so what do you do? What is life? And I'm not saying life is work, but let's be realistic. Getting up every day and having a purpose is what life is all about. And for most people, that purpose is work, provide for your family. If that doesn't exist, I truly am at a loss for words. Like, what is it? What do we do? Do we just stare at?
That's a good question. I don't know. You should ask, I don't know. Let's see. Ask Lincoln, ask Reagan, and ask Trump. Because I don't think there's ever been a Democratic president that's been killed or shot at. So if you don't think there's a difference, you're fooled. Why would they kill each other? Or no, only one side if they're both the same? That's kind of weird thinking. Can you tell us how we should trust the government? Okay, if you don't trust the government, move. And trust the government of whatever country you're in. And if you can't find a government in the country you want to go live in, then why move? This is the government. If you don't understand how it works, I've explained this several times. Go for local elections and get into politics locally. Find out how government works. Once you find out how government works, you can direct it in the direction you want it to go. That's how it works. It takes years of your life to get there. You're obviously a crypto guy and want things to happen in 2.2 seconds, or just as you perceive they should be at that damn point in time. It should change. I said so. I decreed it. Boom, I'm God. Make it so. Is not how it works. You have to understand how it works. So what I'm telling you is you have to trust the government, because if you don't trust the government, fine, you're going to have a miserable life. How you trust the government is, well, you do what I do. How I tell you guys about all these picks and stuff, that's because I read what the government puts out. That's the one equation of living in America no one wants to do. Find out what your fucking government's doing. They tell you. CNN doesn't. Fox don't. CBS, DSD, QB22, none of them will tell you. You have to want to know. If you don't want to know and you're waiting for someone to tell you, you are going to lose. Welcome to reality check. The only thing keeping you from succeeding is you. Do the work. I can throw out a couple websites that'll tell you where the government tells you what they're going to do before they do it. My past couple live streams, I've given examples of the government telling you what they're going to do and them doing it. And the last one I said was, with all these trillions of dollars that the government told you is funneling into America for manufacturing, first, what you got to get over is your own brain screws saying, oh, we're never going to be a manufacturing country. Once you get over your foolishness and thinking you know what you're talking about by saying that, and come to the reality of, oh my God, there's money flowing into manufacturing. Ask yourself, where is it flowing? Because if you put your money in there, you're going to be rich. No matter what your little mind tells you about manufacturing is not coming back to America. You know, say that all until the cows come home, but invest in the manufacturing that's coming back to America, because there's $22 trillion coming into America, mostly for manufacturing and infrastructure. But hey, you know, that's just what the government told me. I'm a fool. Next year, people will be asking me the same question. Well, how should we trust the government? Well, first, listen to them. To listen to them, you can't listen to CNN, Fox, ABC, QBT, YXZ. Look at it with your own eyes, because if you're going to believe someone, well, then go believe someone else, because you obviously haven't been believing me. because I've been telling y'all what's going on, and what I've been saying has been happening. You know, it's just as plain and simple. It has happened. As far as this universal basic income, it will happen too, because they've got this asteroid called Psyche 16. And I told you guys I did a report about this back in 2023. In November or December of 2019, a spaceship took off going to Psyche 16. CBN, CBS, XYZ, QPT, Fox News, and all of them did reports on it. Oh, we're flying to a $770 quadrillion asteroid. Yep, we damn sure are. It's going to get there sometime in 2026. I've told you guys about this. What you seem to fail to realize is to claim ownership of something, all you got to do is stick a flag on it. The world already agreed to it. Did a video on that as well. See how I'm telling the future through my videos and you guys just don't want to watch? I did a video on how that process happens. How does the world get together to make up laws about space? I did a video on it. Go watch it. You'll understand what I'm talking about. See, I can tell you, you can say, oh, well, how are you going to do this? Go watch my videos. Go watch my videos. I tell you all the time how it's happening. I'm just going to spend 72 hours in a 24-hour days repeating everything I say so you can catch up. Go watch my videos, okay? I explain everything, how it's going to happen, because the government told me so. It's like believing in Santa Claus and he's real. The government, a multi-millionaire told me back last millennium how to make millions of dollars. I'm telling you how to make millions of dollars. Listen to what your government says. It's that easy. The hard part is figuring out if you have the intellect to understand or look for what your government's saying and not just believe what your lazy ass wants to believe because you don't want to do any research. Because I know so many millionaires that made their money off of listening to what the government says is going to happen. Because, you know, to have a government manufactured economy where the government runs the economy and by law, the government has to put out a forward looking report on the future and where they plan on going. They have to do every 10 years. If you get a hold of that report, you can figure out where your trillions and trillions of tax dollars are going to be invested, and you can invest in the same thing and you'll be a millionaire. It's that fucking easy. It's that fucking easy. It doesn't take 2.2 seconds like crypto. But if you want to be a real millionaire, that's how you do it. That's a guaranteed way. No, that's a no-brainer. That's a stupid man's way of getting rich. But you got to be smart enough to listen to what your government's saying and not what the news and what the YouTube and what the FlyTube and what CXBT is telling you, and actually go see what the fucking government's telling you. By law, they have to tell you what they're doing. And take the time and research. Your own personal time that's worth $100 million trillion an hour because you'll listen to other people rather than do your own research. And that's why people that do their own research are usually rich. And that's why I've been putting out, when William comes back on, I told him 3.5 years ago about this one stock. 3.5 years ago, he's up 1,300% in 3.5 years. That's actually better than crypto long term. Short term, or 2.3 seconds, he didn't see that much gain. But in 3.5 years, he came in and told me a couple times in my chat about a month ago, he's up 1,300%. So you can not listen, you can listen. I tell you people how to make money. I show you these videos here, tell you what the future is. He says universal high income's coming. Well, back to this freaking $770 quadrillion asteroid that they're going to be landing a flag on and doing sensor work on to see if it's actually what they say it is and worth that much. And when it is, that means America's coffers just increased to $777 quadrillion. But hold on, we don't have access to it. So we need some sort of a digital asset class network worldwide that we can tap into to pull money from the digital world of ownership of that $770 quadrillion asteroid and make it real money here on Earth so we can invest in the technologies needed to go get it. That's called advanced stage of a society moving to the next stage and the economics required to make that happen. And that is what I believe is going to happen. That's why I believe Trump changed his stance on crypto. I believe that's a lot of reasons for a lot of things. But we're going to find out next year. But if so, that'll give you, hey, what's up, Jeffrey? That'll give a very high universal basic income for every American citizen. And if you don't want to work, you won't have to work. That's cool. You'll have, you'll just be stuck in that, what they consider high universal basic income. If you still want to create a company, you'll get more than that. So basically, it's a way to separate the wheat from the shaft. And everyone will get the universal basic income, high universal basic income. It'll either cause you to become lazy and complacent and be a nothing, which shows true value, or it'll give you the time you need to research, learn, develop, and grow into something else, something greater. Everyone says money's the cure to everything. Well, if they give you a high universal basic income, well, there's a cure to all your bills. Now, what do you have? Now everyone's saying, well, what are we going to do? It's going to kill our jobs. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Shit, man, people just can't quit bitching, can they? What's up, Gerald? And hello again, Zardos. Show me the money. Let's get back to this. I was running my mouth too long here.
The clouds all day? I don't know.
What is he talking about, John?
I'm trying to understand that myself, but I'll tell you, Maria and viewers, don't hold your breath thinking that you're not going to have to work anymore. AI might eventually help lead to a world where perhaps there is no need to work, but that world may not arrive until hundreds of years from now. It's not going to happen anytime soon. That's for sure.
And I wouldn't have said that on live TV because it's quite possible it's going to happen in the next 5 years, in my opinion.
This is, this has me totally confused, and I guess it's just more AI hyperbole.
It was hilarious.
And perhaps the market itself has gotten too carried away with what AI can deliver fairly soon.
Yeah, I just went on ChatGPT and said, what is Elon Musk talking about when he says we won't need to work? They say Musk predicts that advances in AI and robotics will automate most of or nearly all human labor. So that's what he's talking about, making work optional instead of necessary.
I'll be here, Maria. I'll be here for you regardless of whether work is optional.
That's what ChatGPT says. All right, guys.
There you go. Work will be optional. You'll be given a home to stay in. You won't be able to buy that castle there. But if you choose to work and create and become a company owner, you still keep the universal basic high income, but you gain so much more because you chose to work and invent, create something and sell it. And you'll be living in this castle here, and the people who have the universal basic income will be the peasants down there on that lower end, right by that river or road, whatever it is. And I personally would rather be in that castle because that castle looks like a cool place to live. Very secure, unless you got missiles, in which case you're screwed. Like I said, the only thing stopping you, and it's not specific to you, the you is to the rest of the world. Everybody is just you as a word. The only thing that keeps you from being rich is yourself and your own obstacles that you put in yourself. That's why I don't use the word can't, because I've never seen a can't, but I do know I've seen a can. And a can't is a roadblock you put in your mind, which mentally creates you to be lazy enough not to want to get up and do the things it takes to become a millionaire. It's a separation of wheat and shaft. Dude, I would be a philosopher if I had free money coming in. I'd do nothing but go to places on my yacht, like New Catamaran, and just go to places and study and learn shit. And then I'd go out and discover shit, and then go back and learn more stuff, and then go out and discover more stuff. The only thing keeping me from doing that is I gotta work. So, it's a perception thing too. If everyone didn't have to work, imagine what the family scenario would be like. Why are most divorces caused? Money. What's the biggest problem? Fatherless families. So, wow, that takes care of that problem. So we'd have a better society, or a different type of crime. It would definitely be a different type of crime. Evil stays afoot. It'll probably happen by 2030. It could be. Every one of us keeps our crimes secret. Otherwise, we'd probably be in jail right now. How many of us did that little tax fraud or that little mail fraud or internet mail fraud, and we just kept it, or we didn't even know it was internet mail fraud or stuff like that? There's not, every one of us is, there's too many laws on the books. Pretty much every American's a felon, depending on what law. It's like communism almost. We need to devoid ourselves of a lot of the laws on the books. ZBCN is a good one. It'll be a way that they transfer that $770 quadrillion rocks financing into the world through a digital credit card system, and that's what ZBCN is. Way too many laws, Stardust, way too many. You'd be surprised at how many people would go to a type of work that they want to do. Because another way to look at it, if you don't have to work, is you could actually get a job that you want to get because you don't have to be proficient at it. So you could take time to learn it and it not cost the company money. Then you'd learn something. There's this thing called the 10,000 hour rule. You put 10,000 hours at something, you become an expert. The thing that keeps people from doing what they want to do is they don't have 10,000 free hours. I imagine a guy like me, if I got a lot of free money, I'd probably spend 4 hours a day doing nothing but studying for years, for a decade. Imagine how smart that would make me. Oh, wait, we kind of sort of did that. Not 4 hours a day, about 1 hour a day for several decades. They already have those deplorables. See, this is where knowledge is power. Look at Japan, the divorce rate in Japan because of the sex bots that the wives allowed the husbands to have, and they quit having sex with the wives. And actually, their birth rate is falling because of it. It's becoming a problem that the Japanese are working on, and they're going to come up with a solution probably before they release a test. Just like if you look at, I saw it today. I should have saved it. It was I think somewhere in the Middle East, they're doing flying taxis, and I did a report on it about a year ago where they were cutting loose the flying autonomous taxi service, and I think it's Dubai. Don't quote me on that, but it's been going for over a year. Have you heard anything of it? See, you can't trust your news service. I don't know if anyone's been killed in that service. I don't know how many accidents they've had. Because again, the way industry works is if you have a product you want to turn out and there's safety implications here in America, you go to a country where they don't care about safety. You pay them enough money, they don't care if the people die, and you test your product there until it's proficient, good, and safe enough to be introduced to an economy that has safety regulations. And that's what they do with these third world countries. And it's not America. It's business. Every big company does it. And quite frankly, if you want to blame countries, the countries that allow them to do it to their people are the ones that are at fault. But we're going to get flying taxis in 2026 and possibly flying cars. So that opens up a whole new industry too. Because then think about it. You're like, well, what new industry will come from that? Well, let's look at shopping. One person has to stick all the bags in a flying car and deal with all the other shit to make the, I've seen some of the flying cars. Some of the flying cars are guaranteed just for flying. Some of them are actually cars that you can pull the wings back out. And so it depends on the style of cars that get popular as to what other industries. Obviously, car washes. As if you're flying, you're going to be hitting insects. You're going to need clean windshields and clean that thing all the time. So if you stop at the store, you'll be like, hey, can you clean this up before I go home? Because I can barely see through this thing. So, there's going to be lots of, these are just bullshit jobs, but there's going to be lots of work coming from new technology. Well, who's to say Kenji's not a girl, bro? Anyone can type and say they're whatever. I could be, well, I can't be a gorilla because you've actually seen my face, but I could be a gorilla had you not seen my face. Use AI voiceover, have a gorilla type. What was that one mathematician said? You get 1,000 gorillas typing on a typewriter for 10 years, you'll be able to pull a good fiction story out of it. Because along the way they'll get enough words right and this, that, and the other. So you know what I think's gonna be cool? And here's some things too. I'm gonna give this one away. It's a freebie, a nugget. A micro railgun. How's it going, Hilarious? No, there's all kinds of things. That's why actually I like see the thing about and this is the reason why I have a different perception on weapons. As I was growing up, the cousin I didn't like who lived in where the hell is that? Not Baton Rouge, Jonesboro, Louisiana area back in the 70s and 80s. He had, believe it or not, they had a basement. And I guess the high enough ground there to have a basement in Louisiana somewhere. And then his dad was like vice president or president of Champion Paper Mill in that area. And he had the beginner set, and he has stayed with it since then, I'm sure, of he could bore his own rifles, make his own rifles, make his own bullets. And when it comes to regulation, they can only regulate the supply chain. If individuals do things and you buy the stuff legally to be able to do yourself, they can't regulate that. You can actually take a patented object and make it for yourself and not pay the person who has the patent. As long as you don't sell it, you can use it, depending on what type of patent it is. Like a car or something like that, you couldn't do, but well, he's just in his lane. His screws didn't come loose. He's just in his lane. His lane is not most people's lanes. Everyone's got a lane to be in. These are problems for the future, my friend. We're going to have to figure that one out. I'd say start off with maybe get rid of the psychology be forced on men by the women's movement, saying that they don't need us. Because right now I'm hearing a lot of complaints about women having problems getting husbands. And that's probably because why would a guy want to be a husband to a wife that doesn't need him? That just means in 5 years she's going to divorce you and take half your shit. So why bother? So again, laws got to change. A lot of things got to change. Also, all things being equal, shit, why don't men get custody and women pay child support? That's not a normal occasion. It's like 5%, I think, is the statistic last I checked. Yeah, my cousin makes actually the rifle, and he can bore it. So, and the way they actually trace rounds is through the boring. If it's a rifle and you shoot the rifle, each boring is different, and they can trace the bullet that you shot to the rifle because of the boring, because it's all registered. But if you do your own, it's known as an unknown weapon, and they can't trace or track it. What they can trace or track is all the equipment. And then they go, you can, through process of elimination, do that. But now if you got all your shit from the 70s and 80s before they started tracking it too good and it's all digital, you might could get around it. But that's not too many people probably done that. I mean, actually, all you need to do is go out of country anyhow. Other countries have different laws. I like the the 22 long rifle pump action. I had a little 22 rifle. It was a pump action. Yep, pump action. Yeah, I used 22 longs. They're good. The CIA's is their at one. Well, let me rephrase that. Before the turn of the millennium, the CIA's preferred weapon of choice for assassinations was the 22. Short range, but accurate. Easiest way, in my opinion, to manage a farm is to manage the soil. If you manage the soil, then your only question is which symbiotic crops to grow. Because if you grow symbiotic crops, if you have a healthy soil system with microalgae network in it, you don't have to use fertilizer, you don't have to water, and you'll have a much healthier crop. And also, depending on the crop you grow, your tilling technique. If you're going to till in all the excess. Don't like break out all the excess and then till. That's how you lose topsoil. How do you gain topsoil yearly is by just harvesting the crop. Like if it's corn, harvest the top part of the corn ears, and then take and till all the stalk into the ground, creating a new biodiversity for all the insects and everything like that. And also enriches the soil through the bio decomposition that happens, and you increase your soil productivity, which increases your crop productivity. I just keep looking at that castle, wishing I owned it, man. That is such a badass castle, that picture I got up. Probably be windy as hell, but hey, thanks for showing up, Andrew. I appreciate it very much. Make sure to hit like on the way out. You know, I got Sabine, astrophysicist. I've got a, hey, I appreciate it, Andrew. A video of her talking about warp drive and the science they've got using that, if you guys are interested. Again, rules and regulations. I know of, I don't know them personally, I know of farmers that get paid not to grow because of rules and regulations. If you know, and this is the thing you need to learn if you have a smaller farm in your local area, see what crops the government subsidizes, because sometimes they pay you not to grow stuff on your land. But if you're going to switch from those two, at least they're switching. I know it's like if you look at the grape vineyards, the monoculture and grape industry, it strips the soil bad. In 5 years, it actually kills the soil. They've actually figured out that you have to grow mustard and fava bean over winter in your grape field to maintain soil consistency to be able to keep the grapes growing. I actually was part of some soil work study that was going on up in Napa. Yeah, you got to rotate the crops to save the soil if you're not going to grow the soil. And how you know you have healthy soil is if mushrooms start popping up randomly in wet, dark areas. That means you got good, healthy soil. Yeah, if you grow together, and if you have a healthy soil base with microfungi network in there, then they will share resources. And that's the reason why you don't need to add fertilizers. The only reason you were sold on fertilizers is because Monsanto wanted money and they controlled the freaking advertisement network and the media network. And no one learned how to farm as a kid. So you didn't realize that putting chemicals on the soil actually kills it. It doesn't do it great good. It's greed. And it's only happened over the government-controlled growth economy. Hey, over the past 50 years, 50-ish years. No, actually, Jeffro, they don't take as much as you think. Southern California, water district controls Northern California water. And we've had to change in the Central Valley up here in the north from having almond orchards to sunflower fields to rice because of the water that the Southern California Water District allows us to keep our own water here in Northern California. And most of the time they vote in favor of letting Southern California have all the water. So when you say that, that's only because everyone wants wine and all the other crop out here suffers, but it's because of the Southern California Water District determines that they need the water for all the illegals and whatnot. Because if you have like 2 or 3 million illegals at no less than a gallon a day, that's say 2 million illegals, that's 2 million gallons of water a day times 365. That's a lot of fucking water, bro. And that's if they don't take showers and wash their clothes. You can like times 10 that number and put it at 10 gallons per. So now you're looking at 20 million gallons a day times 365 just to support illegals. It's a strain on the infrastructure of the water we have in this state to maintain our own level of being the breadbasket of America. Yes, I agree, Hilarious. Organic farming is the best. And that's where you got to, actually, I'd like to test this out. In the Southeast, they got this Asian vine that's taking over the area. It like grows on top of trees and totally kills everything. And I discovered that if you have goats, pigs, and cows, and you fence in like a couple acres that's covered by this, like it's an Azuki vine or something like that. I'm sure that's not the name, but something like that. A Chichuzi vine or something. And if you fence in a couple acres and you stick in some some goats, cows, and pigs, within a year, they'll have cleaned out that area of that invasive species of vine that kills the natural habitat. And then you can just move them. As you keep moving them, they'll deforest the forest of that vine. And of course, gain weight. You can, harvest them and whatnot. Dude, I bet Nancy wakes up drinking wine with us. How fucked up is of a life she has. Goes home and looks at her. Dude, man, lifetime long politicians are psychotic. They have to be freaking crazy. That's all I can say. They got to be crazy. Why Nancy Pelosi would stay married to her husband after that incident. She'd have to be crazy. Hey, you guys play dice? Sorry, I had to go discipline some kitty cats. Yeah, the goats will tear that stuff up, and the pigs will do the root system. Zardos, that's why you put pigs in there. They'll root up the root system, and the goats will eat the vines from the ground up, which kills all the vine, and then the natural trees and bushes can grow again. What's up, Pete? Sasquatchy. See, the thing about that vine, they've got these machines, these mulching type machines, or I guess they're mulching type machines, and they usually do a real good job of clearing land of the dead growth on the ground and the smaller stuff to where it like cleans up, the lower end, visual end of a forest. But that vine clogs that thing up because it'll hit it and it'll pull and wrap around rather than cut. I've seen a couple shows where those guys run across it in the Southeast, and they're like, man, I hate this shit. But, it is what it is. We got to see what what's out. Those mulchers are good though. If you have someone come in ahead of time with a little chainsaw, cut the shit down from about 8-foot level. Those longer armed chainsaws, the mulching thing can come along and tear up the ground real well and take care of the root system, and then everything, all the whole vine thing will die on its own. Yeah, I think a lot of things are going to change out here in California this next election. It'll surprise people, I believe. Not 100% sure, and it really doesn't matter to me because I'm going to be moving out of this place. I've had my fill, and I've had the fill of everyone else too. Don't come out here and live, guys. Choose a life where there's not so much tax. Because if everyone else is paying about $2, $2.50 a gallon, we're here in Vallejo between like $4.15 to $5 a gallon, depending on if you're 87, 89, or 91. There's a variation in price, but anywhere from like $4.15 to $5. So yeah, having that expense cut in half going to another state would be freaking awesome, man. I stick $30 in my tank, it doesn't fill it up. Fills it up maybe 3/4 of the way. $40 comes close to filling it up. If I moved to another state, $20 would fill it up. I'd be shitting. What do I do with this extra $20 every week? Every third day, fourth day, whatever. That's significant savings. Save $40 a week just on fuel expenses. Wow. That's $160 a month. That's like $1,800 a year. And that's what they get out of every American, and that's in California, that drives about an extra $1,800 in gas expense. That's cheap, Jeffro. That is very cheap. That's still $1.50 cheaper than what I pay for 87. You guys, it'd be nice. I'm gonna start throwing you. Yeah, you. Be nice. What? I said be nice. But yeah, I'm not going to show that warp speed video. So, obviously, as usual, pin to the top if anyone wants to come up. I have no more videos to put up, show about. But yeah, definitely look into your medical marijuana industry. There's fixing to be several tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars flowing into that industry next year, the beginning part of the year. And as they say, when the water rises, every boat rises. You know, pretty much any stock in that industry is going to go up. But if you do good research, you can really, maybe with, you know, as little as $100, really make a good return on investment next year in that industry with the signing of that executive order. You got to move south, man. It's too damn cold there in Illinois anyhow. That's where Jerry's at. Or Gerald Miller's from. Gerald Miller. Gerald Draper is, I believe, in Illinois, Chicago area. It's too cold up there, man. You guys need to move. Now, that castle, the picture that I've got up there, no matter how cold it got, I would probably still live there if I had that castle. That's just a badass castle. I wouldn't be on the top side, but there's a lot there that's protected from the wind that I'd definitely be in. Those walls are probably 30 foot tall each. You know, those trees. It's probably at least 3-story walls. And then that cliff face. Oh my God! You know, you could do some good hand gliding launching off there. I wonder if that'd make a business. That could be profitable. I know out here in California, in Vallejo, actually, they've got this one area. It's right by the Costco, actually. There's a cliff like that people go up to the top of. It's maybe, 800,000 foot. And they get these parachutes. And they just jump off. And the parachute's already open, kind of, sort of. But the wind, because of the upstream, picks them up and starts like a bird. It takes them higher. And they use their controls from there. And they'll be like in a parachute. And it's not a hang glider, it's a parachute. And they'll be up there like I don't know, paragliding with the parachute. But they take off from running, and this parachute gets inflated, and it's like 6 miles north of me, right by the Costco. But that'd be nice and warm if it's that warm. In the wintertime, that's warm anyhow. And 2019, I was in Hawaii Christmas time, and I think it was like 72 degrees. So you'd only be 12 degrees colder than Hawaii's Christmases. What's that war? I think so. It's an endangered species of the deer family. I mean, there's only like a couple hundred of them left. And that's what's coming. Hilarious. That's a lot of people. I've stated this before. No one talks about it because it doesn't make news. I did a video on it. The dude who helped create Ripple, who about 6 or 7 years ago, who sold out, and he almost crashed the market. And then they had to work a deal to where it'd take a couple of years for him to get sold out. He actually got $2.2 billion as his part on that when he sold out. And he's invested $1 billion to make a private space station to replace the International Space Station, because he sees the profitability of renting it out to countries instead of having it just funded by countries. So the whole space industry is going private. I think Bezos is also creating a private space station. And there's one other billionaire. There's 3 billionaires out there that are making private international type space stations that'll be for rent. So there's going to be a big industry up in the space industry. That's why I do the videos I do on like hydrogen-3 mining on the moon and stuff like that. You're not actually going to be on the moon. They've got remote control where you can be back in your mom's basement eating tortilla pizza rolls, playing your PlayStation, then go to work for 8 hours and do a remote controlled mining operation from your mama's basement. But they're still going to have to get the equipment up there, maintenance and stuff like that. They'll have mostly robots but they'll still have some humans up there. A majority of the work will be robotic. Some humans will still be up there, but the industry of that is going to create jobs. Not many. There's going to be more industry when the hydrogen-3 gets back here to Earth, which most of it won't need to, because they'll be able to process it on the moon. And then we'll have a Phillips 66 station on the moon. And that is one big reason why we have problems going to Mars, because of the amount of power and fuel it takes to just leave the gravitational pull of the Earth's orbit, and there's no refueling stations. So the weight is it's got to be heavy. So they could, in theory, take spaceships, load them up with a lot less fuel, load them up with more cargo, land on the moon, drop off the cargo, fill totally up with fuel, and then head to Mars, and the launch trajectory would be a lot better, and it'd be a lot cheaper on fuel expenditure because of the atmosphere is 1/6 what it is here. So it would be a lot easier to leave that atmosphere and get a faster speed off the go. And they could probably decrease the amount of time it would get to Mars by about a month to 6 weeks if they launched from the moon. Yeah, there you go. You got the two Illinois guys talking to each other in chat. What do I think about what I've always thought about climate change? Whatever they're selling us is a hoax that they're selling us to get taxes that they're going to take most of it from, and it's not going to change a damn thing. None of the science has actually been there to prove anything. They have science that they stopped and started at a certain point to get their narrative passed, but the real science is this. Each volcano on this planet in 1 hour of spewing lava puts out the same amount of greenhouse gas as all of humans' emissions in 1 year. Last I checked, there was 47 volcanoes spewing out lava. So that means every hour there was 47 years of humans' emissions being. So in a 10-hour day, 10 hours of a day, that's 70. Wow, hold on, wait. 47, 470 years. So we're looking at every day is well over 1,000 years of human greenhouse gases is being put into the environment by the environment. So do you think that that our small amount has anything to do with that? I don't think so. I think it was all for money and to change industry because their people were into the one industry and wanted to get paid, and all they had to do is change government regulations. And to do that, all you had to do is control the entertainment and news media and feed people a bunch of bullshit long enough. And you follow the same theory as they did back in late 1930s in Germany, for which I've told people about, and I've done many videos on this, and that would be Dietrich Bonhoeffer's theory of stupidity. And I encourage everyone to read those letters on the theory of stupidity. Because if you read it, you become aware of what they're doing to us over and over again in this past 100 or so years. And then you can detach yourself from that and maybe get somewhere because you don't have as many fucking chains on your ass. But that's just my thought process. We'll see. But yeah, our society has geared us to be stupid, and those of us that didn't fit into society aren't stupid because we didn't fit into being geared to be stupid. We didn't care about Sally down the road and what she had, and we didn't need to have it just because she had it, and we didn't care what was on General Hospital. We didn't care about none of that shit. So they didn't get us indoctrinated in the school system, especially those of us that quit public school system, every public school we went to, being indoctrinated from a very, very young age. And I was an asshole from a very, very young age and quit. Well, if we didn't move from country, probably would have quit. Well, Europeans where schools were real good. But here in America, man, I didn't stay in a public school for more than one solid year. High school, I was in high school, public high school for a year and a half. Middle school, I was at middle school for 1 year, and then I quit and went to a private school for the 2 middle school years. And I went back to public school and lasted a year and a half before I quit because they're just too stupid with their indoctrination. And I've known it my whole life, and I fought against it. I was educating teachers on truth and getting in trouble for it. There you go. Yes, he was. And that's more likely to happen than global warming. And then there's other anomalies as well. There's some big heat differential magmatic anomaly off the west coast of southern Africa. That's several hundred kilometers and it's moving around. And they determined it's a continental sized rock in our mantle It's moving around, and right now it's underneath the Atlantic Ocean, underneath the crust and all those stuff down towards the mantle, but it's pushing up a magnetic and heat signature that's changing the temperature of the Atlantic, which is causing weather anomalies. Because all weathers that run off of the Pacific and Atlantic and the Gulf Stream and the flow of water. Oh, that's sweet. Well, it's losing the false narrative. It was never a war. It was a narrative they were selling for money. So, what other subjects you about? You might get war. They've come up with glass that's supposedly as strong as steel. Because that was also a lie. Glass bottle versus can, or glass versus plastic back in the 70s. That was the whole psychological operation to get off of glass, and it was by the oil companies, because polyethylene is an oil-based product. Booty. A typo, but Jeffro. They actually have machines where you can drop glass bottles into, and it instantly converts it back into glass, sand. Yes, basically, Zardo, it was manufactured by the government. This is the first part of my conversation. Since 1971, we've been living in a government growth economy. So that means the government's controlled everything. We're going back to a private industry run economy, or a manufacturing economy. What's that song? Welcome to the new day, to the new day. Yes, it does. I agree with you there. And then also he tells you in Visions to Start Companies. Boy, I spell about as good as it does, Jeffro. I might actually spell better. I don't know, it's 50-50. It'll surpass me because it wants to learn how to spell better. I don't care. Well, I can get the good on that spell. We spell good. Okay, I got it, War. Let's see. Damn, where is that piece of paper I had? Oh, that was one hell of a hit. Hold on here. I'm doing a little psychological thingy. That would be. Here we go. Can anyone read that? Or can everyone read that? Psychologists say you can read it. It's the psychology of the brain when it comes to spelling. It says the brain is a terrible thing to waste. And all the letters are correct, but you put them in a different arrangement. As long as the first letter and the last letter are correct in the correct spots, your brain can decipher the meaning of the word, the actual word. So subconsciously, you can understand. Subconsciously, you can read shit if it's the first letter and the last letter is put in the right position. You'll be able to read it. It's like looking at that dot pictures for long enough, and then the image comes out by looking at the dots. And that would be Ebonics, more of what you got going there, Jeffro. That's another type of spelling or vocabulary based off another psychology. Catch up, Ward, catch up. I'm gonna have to pack my third bowl here shortly. Yeah, I hope everyone has a happy holidays and a Merry Christmas. I'm going to go ahead and cut this one short. I want everyone again to look at that castle and think about, man, would that be a castle to own? I could own that castle. Because once you think about wanting it, you can create it and you can make it happen for yourself. Because your reality is based off of your perception of reality. So perceive your own reality. And with those psychological words, cereal bowl. What are you talking about, cereal bowl? Yes, cereal bowl. Yes, yeah. Okay, sorry. I had too much 420 in me before put it together what you were talking about there. But anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. You guys have a great weekend, and I'll talk at you next time if I don't see you in some other chat. I noticed a lot of you guys are starting to come into Ninjas, which is cool. I'm not used to saying hi to a lot of people because usually you guys don't come into his stream. So it's cool seeing you there. But anyhow, I'm going to leave this. I'm going to leave this stream. I'm going to cut the stream off. Look at that castle picture. It's awesome. I'll talk to you later. Have a great weekend. Be safe.